What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And in this video, I'll be going over my wildcard draft for the upcoming double game week 29. So first of all, no, I'm not on the chip, unfortunately. I used my wildcard a few game weeks ago, but for those of you on the chip this week, this is going to be the perfect video for you. But if you guys aren't on the chip for double game week 29, don't worry, these are going to be plays that you guys should be targeting with those free transfers, maybe even the occasional hit. So really a perfect video, and that's why I wanted to create it a little bit later on into the international break, just to make sure the information in this video is the most up to date. So like with any draft video, I'll be going over the fixtures first, giving you guys the game weeks to watch out for, what chips you should be using in the future game weeks. I'll then move on to the actual draft. I won't be going over any team selections, so this video is going to be slightly shorter than usual, but I don't think you guys will mind. So if you guys want to see my wildcard draft, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as I always say, the fixtures are the bread and butter of any draft, whether it be a wildcard, a free hit, whatever you guys want to go for, and I'm going to use Ben Crellin's game week planner to depict the future game weeks. So obviously double game week 29 will be the one that you guys focus on. It's the game week on the horizon, the one that you can really focus on, and the biggest double game week of the season. So your starting 11 is going to be absolutely stacked with these double game week options, but double game week 29 shouldn't be the only game week you guys focus on. We have blank game week 32, this is really integral to you guys if you aren't going to be on the free hit, as your wildcard will then have to prepare you to have 11 options in this blank game week. Then we have the newly announced game week 34's double, a few teams double here, 6 to be precise, so if you're on the wildcard you want to have a few of these options in that draft. We then have game week 36 and game week 37, game week 37 and game week 36 haven't been confirmed as of yet, but as you guys can see, Ben Crellin has them as very likely double game weeks. So let's go over some teams that I think you guys should be focusing on. Obviously Brighton are a very big side to focus on, especially if you guys are on that game week 32 free hit. They have the most amount of doubles coming up and unfortunately only have one blank. We then have those Liverpool assets, and not only do I like them from a fixture point of view, they're also very differential at the current moment, so if you guys want a wild card, that's one way you guys can gain rank. Then Man City, another team that have a lovely double 34, but unfortunately only a single game week 29, but you can always bench them. Now I want to pay some attention to those game week 36 and game week 37 double game weeks. We've already spoken about Brighton, but you guys will see that Chelsea and Man City have a potential double in 37. Then Newcastle in game week 36 also have a nice double game week on paper, so just take note of them because they are quite cheap. Now in terms of the chip strategy for this wildcard draft, I've done two assumptions. The first assumption is going to be the one that I think might vary according to you guys. It's going to be game week 32 free hit. So what I'm assuming here is that you guys still do have a free hit and you'll be using it in game week 32. Don't worry though, if you guys don't have a free hit, have already used it in the prior game weeks, I'll be going over some variations to this draft that you guys could make. Then another big assumption is I'm expecting you guys to bench boost in game week 34. I think this is quite realistic. If you guys still have your wildcard, probably have your bench boost. But if you don't worry, the game week 34 bench boost won't be that stacked. So just going over that again, for this draft, I've done two assumptions, a free hit in 32 and a bench boost in game week 34. Now the last talking point I want to go over in terms of the fixtures is going to be that game week 33 wildcard. I think the only reason why you guys should be going for the game week 29 wildcard is if your team currently doesn't look as good, because I do think game week 33 to game week 34's bench boost might be slightly better. What you guys can do then is kind of dead end your squad into game week 32, and therefore you don't have to use your free hit at the end of the day. But each to their own. If you guys do want to still go with the wildcard, let's go over the draft. So going over the draft, and as I always do, I'll be going from the most expensive to the cheapest option. However, in the defensive department, I've done kind of a switch, and that's because I've got three main defenders. But other than that, they'll be the most expensive to the least expensive from left to right. Now first of all, I just want to put this out there that I did have 1.4 million left in the bank, so you guys can make some upgrades, but I can't really see many opportunities as the team looks pretty good. So let's start off with that goalkeeper pairing, and my goalkeeper pairing might be slightly different to the template. I've actually gone for Edison and Kepa. Now what you want to do on a wildcard is probably have a double game week goalkeeper this game week and a double game week goalkeeper in the future. That's exactly what Kepa and Edison gives you. You can bench Edison this week, play Kepa, has the double game week, and then come game week 34, 36 and 37, Edison has the better doubles than Kepa. Now the big reason I also went for Edison was the fact that in terms of that Man City defense, you can't exactly predict who's going to start. Yes, you have a Nathan Ake, a Ruben Diaz and a Kanji, these sort of options, but Pep always likes to rotate his backline. So that's why I've gone safe here, paid the 5.4 million, I've got Edison in net, and he might not be the best goalkeeper to have in FPL, but if you can see some clean sheets on the cards. Then in terms of Kepa, there's some other goalkeepers you could also look at, but I do favour those Chelsea defensive stats, and Kepa always gets you 1 or 2 save points. But as I mentioned, in terms of the goalkeepers, there's tons of kind of options to go for, usually not the most high scoring position, so you can go for some other alternatives. Now going to our back line, I'm going to start off with our most expensive defender, Kieran Trippier. So no Trent Alexander-Arnold in this draft, but you guys can go from, and I will talk about him a little bit later on. So at 5.6 million for my own team, that's his selling price in my own squad, as I did buy him quite cheap. I think that Kieran Trippier is a no-brainer. You guys would have seen that Newcastle have a few doubles coming up, and Trippier always offers that defensive and that attacking threat. Talking about kind of attacking threat, I've included Luke Shaw as my Manchester United defender of choice, 5.2 million, slightly more than the other options, but I still think he's worth it. Now yes, United without Casemiro might be having some worse defensive stats, but this is kind of a long-term pick. If you guys do want to save some money, you can go for a Martinez, a Varane, that sort of thing, but I would pay the extra and go for the attacking threat of Luke Shaw. Then our next option is going to be a Stupinan for Brighton. Now please watch out for that press conference. You guys know all about a Stupinan. Played in Australia, I think yesterday. Should be back in time for Game Week 29, but just make sure that he is. I just think with those Brighton fixtures coming up, I already mentioned this, they're the most doubles left in the Prem, and that's why Brighton defender for me is a must-have. Now if a Stupinan won't make the game week, you can always go for a Lewis Dunk, that sort of thing, but I do prefer the attacking threat of a Stupinan at the moment. Now last defenders to go over are actually going to be a Newcastle double up. I've gone for Fabian Schär and Botman. Botman returned to training recently. I know that he missed out with the Netherlands kind of international break, but it seems like he's back fit for Game Week 29. The reason I did go for these two Newcastle options, even though Fabian Schär is slightly more expensive than a Dan Burn, I do prefer his attacking threat. Now the simple reason for this is that I do actually like that Newcastle double coming up about Game Week 36, and that's why I've put these two assets in. But as with the goalkeepers, there's some massive rotation that you could do here, some massive alternatives that you can also look at, but I played a little bit safe and you can bench them most game weeks and play them when they have the doubles. But you guys go for simply anyone. If you want to go for another alternative to Fabian Schär, that's 100% fine, but this is more kind of a future move. Then go into our midfield department, and the midfield is absolutely stacked on a Game Week 29 wildcard. We're going to start off with the most expensive option in the game, Mo Salah. So yes, I'm actually paying that premium price, 12.8 million for the Egyptian, but I do think he's worth it with these future doubles coming up for Liverpool. So yes, Liverpool might not be the best side, but from an attacking point of view, still putting up a very good XG, and you guys would have seen that in the Ultimate Guide yesterday. They play better against the better teams, and they've got Man City and Chelsea, bad fixtures on paper, but maybe Liverpool and Mo Salah can do some damage. Now generally, if you guys are wildcarding in Game Week 33, wildcarding Game Week 29, Mo Salah is going to be in your squad, and that's why I've included him here. Another player that's almost a guarantee is going to be Bruno Fernandes at 9.6 million, a little bit cheaper than Mo Salah, but one of the premiums of choice, and there's kind of no excuse not to get him on a wildcard. Now I'm going to bring in Marcus Rashford right now at 7.0 million, has risen in price quite a lot, as I do think kind of going for a United triple up is almost essential on a wildcard. Most of us on free transfers this week are trying to get this United triple up. They have a double in 29, a double in 34, and a future double in 37. So no brainers in my opinion. Yes, you guys could go for alternatives, but I'm going to play it safe with these two template picks. Then talking about kind of template picks, let's go over our last two midfielders. The first one is going to be my Brighton midfielder of choice, McAllister. If you guys don't have a Brighton mid, I would definitely go for McAllister over Matoma and also Solly March. Since playing at the number 10 position has been a different animal, and his stats look super strong out of those Brighton midfielders. They've actually chosen to go for his colleague as well. I've gone for Matoma over Solly March, just prefer the Japanese international, scored on international duty, has good form at the current moment, but it's really a kind of 50-50 between them. So I think two Brighton mids, if you guys are going to free it in Game Week 32, almost essential, like a Stupinan, have the most doubles coming up, and you guys would have seen their XG yesterday in the Ultimate Guide, simply outstanding. Now there has been a big omission from our midfield department. It's going to be James Maddison. You could go for Maddison over Fernandes, you could go for Maddison over Matoma, if you guys have that value in the bank. I just simply prefer this kind of 5 in midfield, and this is definitely the template if you guys are going to free it in Game Week 32. Now going into our forward department, and I've shaken things up. I've actually gone for Erling Haaland, but he will be probably benched for Game Week 29. I just feel like you want Haaland next week anyway, so why lock in a transfer? You can simply bench him this week and have him for the rest of the season. So unfortunately, I'll be paying his current price, 12.0 million, as I have sold him already. But if you guys did keep him, he'll be slightly cheaper. But as mentioned, you're going to buy him next week anyways. Man City have some nice doubles coming up, and I would definitely get him in as quickly as possible if you guys aren't going to go for him on your Game Week 29 wildcard. Next up, an option that's probably pretty template, it's Ollie Watkins. With the current injury to Kai Havertz, and then Ollie Watkins is a standout option, but obviously if Havertz is going to be fine, you can go for him. Just kind of a very simple pick here in terms of the strikers, there's not too many to go for, and that's why the Aston Villa striker slots in quite nicely. Now the last striker to go for might be slightly controversial, but it's actually Dom Solanke from Bournemouth at 5.5 million. So no Harry Kane's in this draft. The reason I did go for Solanke is that he allows me to get Salah and also Bruno Fernandes, and then finally the missing piece of Erling Haaland. So there's some doubles coming up. Bournemouth aren't the most attacking side, but can score goals, and Solanke has the kind of habit of getting 1 or 2 assists. So I'm going for him as a cheap option. Yes, you guys go for an even cheaper striker, play Erling Haaland this week, and then have more money in the bank. But I just want to show you an alternative if you're going to be bench boosting in game week 34, and that's how I've gone for the Bournemouth striker. So overall, this will be my kind of team heading into that game week 29 wildcard. This is obviously if you're going to free it in game week 32 and bench boost in 34, but you guys can obviously use this as a template and then vary it to your heart's desire. Now let's go over some alternatives that you guys can consider if you aren't going to be free hitting in game week 32. One option that I'll probably go for is Maddison over Matoma. I think you guys can find the extra value in the bank somewhere. Probably going to be downgrading early Haaland, which might not be what you want to go for. But considering that Man City blank into 32 as well, you might want to go without the Norwegian until game week 34. So Matoma to Maddison, downgrading early Haaland to whoever you want. And I'd use that extra value in the bank to probably get Trent as well. So Liverpool do have a nice fixture in game week 32 and obviously have the nice double in game week 34. So those three changes, Erling Haaland downgraded, Maddison in for Matoma, and Trent in for probably Fabian Schär. That's probably the changes I would make to this game week 29 wildcard if you guys aren't going to free it in game week 32. The last changes you guys will have to make, unfortunately, is going to be in the goalkeeper department, as Chelsea and Man City both blank in game week 32 as well. I've seen Leno floating around in a couple of projected points metrics because obviously he has the doubles coming up in the future. But you guys can decide what you want in terms of the goalkeepers. As I've always mentioned, quite a low scoring position, so you can just kind of pick one and place one in. But let me know what you guys think about this wildcard draft. If you guys are on the wildcard this week, let me know what your draft is currently looking like. If you guys are on free transfers like myself, I'm looking at Luke Shaw in, Bruno Fernandes in, and that gets me slightly closer to this actual draft. We will be dealing with Mo Salah a little bit later on. Unfortunately, I can't really go from -8 or -12 this week, unless you do decide to go slightly maverick. I'll be going over my team selection tomorrow, so make sure that your bell notifications are on for that, as you don't want to miss this one. But that's basically everything, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please like if you didn't subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hope you guys did enjoy this video, but I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow for the team selection, and I'm going to sign off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.